and today we're going to be learning about the eye. I drew a diagram here so we know what we're going to be learning about. So first, what we all know about the eye. We know that the eye is made of tissue cushion as well as the nose. And we also know the eye is responsible for our seeing. But there's a little bit more to that. Let's go deeper in. So I've done my research and I wrote all the things we're going to learn about the eye here. And now I'll explain it to you. So we may think of our eye, some may think of the eye as an oval shape because we can see our eye as an oval shape. But actually it's a sphere shape. Our eye is basically bigger than how we see it. But our eyelids, they cover most of the eye. That's why it seems like we have an oval-shaped eye. The next is cornea. We may have known our eyes of having color, but that color is basically cornea. The cornea goes over our pupil like a small little limb. So if this hand is the pupil and this hand is the cornea, it would go like this. The cornea can be in different colors, like brown, green, and blue. In my diagram, I did draw the cornea. This thin line is the cornea. Now we're going to learn about the tear socket. The tear socket is right here, right over here in our eyes. The tear socket basically takes the leftover water that we have, and the leftover water, it usually goes through our downhole, otherwise known as bladder. But there's also other types of water that goes up into the tear socket. And whenever we get hurt or we get tempted to have pain, we have crying issues, like we cry. And the water that is used for our tears comes from the tear socket. Next up is pupil. We know our pupil as the thing as we see through, but actually the pupil is a hole that's letting the light come through. Like it's a really small dark hole. And the light comes through there so we can see everything brightly. Next up is the blind spot. The blind spot is right behind the pupil. And the blind spot means it doesn't get any light. So it's not a light delicate structure. It just doesn't get any light at all. Next point is the brain and eye connection. We have different nerves going from the brain to different body parts and coming back. Same way, the eye and the brain have that nerve system too. Everything that the eye sees, like something outdoors, like a plant outdoors, we see it with our eyes. And inside, even before a nanosecond could be counted, the nerves from the eye zoom to the brain and tells the brain what they saw. And the brain tells us what it is. And so let's say we have a big number that's in a color. So if there's green and then the number is yellow, we need to read the number. It'll be a little bit difficult. So the nerves in our eyes that are connected to our eyes, they go to the brain and they basically give the information to the brain on what we're seeing. And the brain decodes it and shows us the number. Another important part is the retina. The retina is way back at the end of the eye. So if this was the eye, the retina would be here, and the pupil would always be here. The retina is at the end of the eye because it holds very important cells that help us see. The retina is really long, and it has these two types of cells called rods and cones. The cones are responsible for our color seeing, like in the example I told you before, green and yellow. We see those two different colors because of our cones. In the nerves, there are nerves in the retina, very tiny ones though. And there are 3 million rods and 1 or 2 cones in there. That means that the brain gets more information from the cones than the rods. The rods are responsible for our seeing details, like the plant I said earlier. We can see the details because of our rods. The rods help us see the details. Details like a small and a big. For example, a clock. If it's like a different type of clock, then it would have like different kind of designs. The rods help us see those different kind of designs. Blood vessels. The blood vessels come from the retina, but they go forward because they're long and thin. And they go and rest in the tissue in the front of our eyes. So you know when you see different kind of red lines in your eyes, right? And that sometimes happens when you're straining your eyes too hard. That's because the blood vessels, they stand out because they're going forward and they're straining themselves more. In my diagram, I can show you where the blood vessels are. You see these thin lines? Those are the blood vessels. Now that we covered all the parts of the eyes, let's go into more details of the eyes, like vision. You know a camera and how it takes a picture. If it takes a picture of a whole person, you can see that it takes every detail. That's kind of how the eye works too. The eye takes a whole picture, like a picture of the person you're looking at. So when the eye does that, the information goes through the nerves and to the brain. So the brain can keep it in a database collection, and when you see that person again, you will be able to remember his or her name. So the eye works like a camera. So how the eye focuses is basically it has 2 different kind of cells that helps it focus. Let's say we keep our finger far away over here, and then we look at it. We'll be able to see it, most likely, because from our eyes, they're like 2 parallel lines. They're like this. When they go far, like when the object is far, like my finger over here, it will go split out. If I bring my finger closer, like here, the lines that I showed you will start bending. Now let's go into 3-dimensional. So in 3-dimensional sight, most kids like me, we can cross our eyes and look at an object that's about 3 inches away from us. Like my finger. If I keep it very close, I can still see it. But it's 3 inches away that I can still see it clearly. Adults need to have their object as near as 5 inches, or else they'll see it very blurry. So kids' sight is basically better than adults' sight. those lines I told you about, they merge together when the object comes closer. Like when I cross my eyes, just look at my finger. Right now, my two lines are together. If I bring my finger closer, I can't really see it properly because those lines that I told you about, they're bending too much. And so the eye can't really focus that much on the strain it's doing and on the details it's getting. How the eye moves. We may know our eye moving like this way and then that way. It moves about 180 to 90 degrees. If we look that side without turning our head, we can move our eyes. But that's only about a 90 degree. Come back straight forward with your eyes. Let's look that side without turning our heads. We can look out of the corner of our eye, but it can only move from here to here, because if it moves any backwards, it will strain the eye and the muscles in the eye will show out in the front, meaning it will break the muscles. The tears also take the water and they keep the eye moist and dry and germ-free. A blink of an eye. We know that the tears, they wash away all our germs, right? Well, basically, the eyelids do the same thing too. You know when you keep your eyes open for a long time, your eyes start to water? It's because more germs are starting to come into your eyes. When you blink them, you basically wash away them except without the tears. To test your eyesight, I'm going to put a picture up there and I want you to tell me what you see. Do you see a white cheetah or a white tiger, or do you see a Dalmatian? The correct answer is a Dalmatian, because if you see that picture more carefully, you can see that it's all black and white. Dalmatian colors are black and white. And also, you can see the way that animal is bending down. And also, the landscape of there looks like a road with grass on either side. Tigers or cheetahs do not live near roads. Cheetahs live in the forests and tigers live in swamps. So if you saw a Dalmatian, your eyesight is normal. If you don't see a Dalmatian, and if you see like a black and white tiger or cheetah, that means your eyesight is a little off normal, which means you might have to wear glasses. Be honest. And this is happening because in our eyes we can see different images, and also since our brain and our eyes are working so hard, we can have like a trick vision. Like, let's say we thought we saw a fox, but actually it was just a dog, or our mind playing tricks on us, as you would say. But no, because our brain and our eyes are working so hard, we could have accidentally really spun that one really fast, like we zoomed across that image, making it look like a fox or another mind trick. I'm going to put a picture over here to see how well you can unconfuse yourself from the colors. You see that the background circles are green, and there's a number that are red circles. Stop for a moment and pause this video and stop for a moment to think about what this number says. If you see the number 20, look closer. If you see the number 70, that means you have a red and green defect. if you see the number 29, that means you have normal vision. Confusing colors. Those who have extremely good eyesight can recognize a color from a different color. Like what I said in the earlier example, green color with the number. Let's say that it's really on green paper, but there's number 17 in yellow. And our brain has to decode it. These are confusing colors because they both are, they go together in a rainbow type of version, but when you actually look at them in one number and another, you can actually see that they are quite confusing. Even those with extraordinary visions have to stop for a moment and think about what this number really is. The eye is really restless. You might think that our eye is always looking forward, and whenever we want to move our eyes, like here, there, they move. But actually, our eyes are never still. They keep on moving, but they move in such a slight way that we don't even know that they're moving. Like if you're reading a book, you're going to have to read sentence, 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 and make your eyes move from this side to this side, this side to this side, this side to this side, this side to this side. Instead of making your eyes move like really, really not moving. The importance of eyesight. People we have eyesight, right? But also compare yourself to a blind person. I would say you're lucky if you have eyesight. Because if you have eyesight, let's say you're gonna walk into a tree and you're looking somewhere else. Then when you look front, you can see you're walking into a tree and you can stop yourself. With a blind person, even if they look front, they can't see anything. So they'll just bump into that tree. So we are lucky we have eyesight because it helps us see the world in a more detailed version. Organ donation. We can donate our eyes and almost every part of our body. We can donate our eyes, our lungs, our heart, and also our kidneys. After we die, if we sign a form saying that doctors can take our body parts after we die, after a few hours, those body parts will die. But before the few hours, if the doctors take out your body parts, then they will keep them in a fridge. And they will keep the eyes in a fridge. And if some little child has no eyes, then they can keep the eyes on that little child. And that little child will be able to see for the rest of his or her life. So the message I'm trying to say in organ donation is we can donate our eyes to help another person who can't see be able to see and see the world in a more detailed version. We all love to watch TV and we also like to play games. But this is all screen time, keeping our eyes on the screen. If we keep it for more than 3 or 4 or 5 hours a day, our eyesight will become ruined. One way to improve your eyesight is to not watch too much TV and not spend too much time on the screen. But since we're forced to have screen time because of COVID, we can't go to school in school. Right now we have to stay on the remote school. Online you can buy these screen protecting glasses, which can protect your eyes from the too much screen time.